This is the tutorial for the Creating an Access Form activity. You should have already downloaded the activity and read through it. The skills you learn in this tutorial will allow you to complete Part C in your assignment. So we're going to use the data set from the real estate example that we've used before. So the first thing I want to do is open the real estate database. And notice that we have our 4 tables and the 6 queries that we built in a previous activity. So we want to use the form wizard to create our form. So I've already highlighted Create, Form Wizard. Now we want to include all of the fields from the listing table. So I choose Listings. I click on the double arrow because that brings all of the fields over. Now I want to create a subform within this form from the Rooms table and include all the fields. So I choose Rooms. Once again, I click on the double arrow and I click Next. And I want to view my data by listings with the subform Rooms. So it kind of shows that. If you can see, there's a little bit of a darker gray box around the room fields. And I accept the default form with subforms. Click on Next. And I want to change this to tabular so I can move the fields around in the form to make it look nicer. Click on Next. I want the forms. I'm just going to accept the titles, except I'm going to get rid of the word subform. So my form is listings and my subform is rooms. And now let's look at it to see what it looks like. Click on Finish. Alright, so there is my listing. But we notice a couple things, right? This is all fine, but look at our data down here, right? It doesn't all fit on here. There's type of room. So we can't see everything, so we need to change our form, right? So what I want to do is click on View and click on Design View. Right, there's a whole bunch of different things that we can do. We can move things around. So the first thing I want to do is I want to make this a little bit bigger. So I'm going to move this over here so I can see what I'm doing. And I would like to take our tables, our subform Rooms, and move it up over here. Well, it's kind of laying on top of that, so we need to, oops, let me click Undo. We need to move it over a little bit. So I'm going to grab it and move it to right here. Kind of lines up with those other guys. And notice that it moves the table over too. But that still doesn't solve my problem over here with data being to the right of the form, and you have to use the scroll bar. So one of the things I want to do is I want to make everything be seen in one window. So I'm going to click on Room Width and notice that I get the 4 arrows, and I'm going to just move it over a little bit. And I'm also going to double click on the right side, and it sizes it to meet the label, right? Because what I'm working with is the label. So I'm going to do the same thing with the room length, and then I'm going to just kind of move it over a little bit. Floor type, I want to do the same thing. Whoops, down here, so it has to have the double-headed arrow. So I'm going to move the floor type over, and then I'm going to move my scroll bar a little bit. Type of room, so I'm going to double click here because I couldn't reach the other one easily, and whoops, and I'm going to move this guy over. And then my listing, because don't forget, listing code is what we use to bring our to join our tables together. So I'm going to keep moving it over a little bit to get it over. And now, don't forget, these are just our headings. These are not the actual data in the field. So we need to do the same thing. We're going to move this, we're going to make it a little bit smaller, and we're going to move it and put it right under Room Width. So that looks about right. We can reduce the size of the field. And the reason that these fields are these lengths in our form is because when we created our table, we did not designate the size of the fields. We just let it default. So room type, well, let's make this a little bit, well, oh, this is floor type, so let's make it maybe just a little bit bigger because I'm not quite sure how big the field is going to be. Let's move this over just a touch, and we'll bring our type of room over. Now notice I have to kind of play with it so I can see the whole thing. Now I know that like this was bedroom and it was a little bit longer, so maybe I want to move my listing codes over a little bit, right? So a lot of this depends on your eye. And then we want to bring our listing code over also. Okay. It's not quite centered or underneath. There we go. All right, so when I look at it, it seems like it should work. This might need to be moved over just a touch, right? But I can easily check this by looking at my form view, right? So I click on view, I click on form view, and now it looks much better. This is in line. Just could probably move over a little bit to line up with these this column, but otherwise it's looking pretty good. So let's look at a couple different things. So here, listings is your outside form, rooms is your sub form, right? That's what this says. Notice that we have 23 records here, and we have, in this case, we have 3 records that match this listing number. Okay, and if you wanted to add a new record, you could put it right in here where the little star is. So let's look at these controls down here. If I click on this, notice the little tooltip says it's the next record. Right, so I can go all the way through it looking for things, or I can click on my last record. So I know that I have 23 records in here. Let's say the reason that I built this form is I wanted to be able to enter data in a nicer way. So what I want to do is click on this little, it's yellow, it's hard to see, new blank record. You kind of have to read the tooltip. Right, so I know my listing number is going to be 24, right, because I look down here, I'm at the end, and I'm just going to put some data in here. Let's see, what was some of those? I think it was forced air, gas air, I think. Central air, yes. Taxes, let's put our taxes at 10,000. And we are in the CPS school district. And then I'm going to only put one room in just for the sake of time. So let's see, I have a room that's 12 by 15. It has carpet. It is a bedroom, and then I don't need to do anything else, right? So I have my 24 fields, and I'm going to save this, right? And notice that it says bedroom here, that it doesn't really like it. Maybe it wants a lowercase b. Let's save it again. Oh, and now it's okay. So how do I know that it took? Well, let's go to listings, and there it is, right? Here is my Main Street. As you can tell, I used this for an example before. That's why 23 is in there. Okay, so I know that worked. Let's close this table. We're going to save everything. Now it says we want to edit. We want to change some things. So let's look at number 8. So there's a couple of different kinds of boxes that you can make. You can make a list box and you can make combo boxes. So I'm going to show you how to make one of them, and then you can play around with it. So we need to go into View, Design View. Now let's say we want to change the state text box to a list box. So one way is to click on the existing state text box. So let's see, where's my state? I click on it and I hit my delete key, and notice that the label and the data field go away. So to create a new input box for state, click on the list box icon, Okay, that's a combo box. Here's a list box. So I click on it. Notice that when I get to my form, I get the plus with the little marker on it, and I know state shouldn't take up too much space. So I am going to, it brings up the wizard, so I want to get the list box to get the values from another table or query. Okay, I'll take the default. And where did I get that from? Well, listings, right? And I'm going to leave the default at tables. And then state, so I only want one field now, so I'm just going to use highlight it and use the one area. Click on next. We can sort by ascending or descending. We only have one. So let's go to next and then finish. Right? So now notice that we probably want to move state over a little bit so it's in line with the rest of them, which move this guy. So let's move him to be in line with the other ones. Oh no. Why isn't that? There we go. Alright, I forgot to click, that's why. Now let's look at our view and our form view. Alright, and notice that now we have a list box, and all of them just say Illinois. Let's add a new one, and notice that it automatically populates. So we always want to make sure we save our listings, and then we can close it. So you can complete the rest of the activity playing with the combo boxes, and I just do a couple of other things so you get the hang of it, so you can do part C of your assignment.